Hello YouTubers, this is DasGregor, and I thought of another short story to tell you. So I thought I might as well record it now while YouTube's down and they're working on it. This is an untitled piece because this is more real than it is fiction. Of course, how are you to really know what's real in fiction? Now the stories, I must add, the stories I do talk to you about of my life in Germany, they're as real and as true to fact as possible in my memories. But I know a lot of my stories I kind of talk in a first person, and that's just to make the story kind of go by a little bit easier. But for the most part, I try to make sure I tell you in the little synopsis at the beginning that this is fiction, that this is not real. The last story that I posted, which I actually will be posting soon as YouTube gets back up. The part about me living in Pennsylvania is real. The part about the graves are real. The fact that there were 3 when I first got there, and now there are 4, that was definitely real. The names are slightly changed because my memories are slightly bad and I don't remember exactly the first names. I think Tabitha and Abigail were correct. I think there was a William, but I don't remember if the other one was a John or a Robert. So I just made up a name for now. But as for the ghosts, goblins, ghouls, the rest, that was just all made up. Part of stories that I've found in my life, you might say that I could expound upon it and make fun. But what I want to tell you right now is more of a dream that I had that I then looked more into to find a bit of truth. For one night as I slept, I seemed to dream that there was a small child that ran into my bedroom and shook me and woke me and told me that the house was on fire. Actually, you know what? He didn't tell me that the house was on fire. He told me that the school was on fire and that I needed to get out. And he woke me from what I thought was a sound sleep. And he was frantic and saying, "You've got to get out of here. The school's on fire. The school's on fire." And I woke up suddenly startled, not knowing what to think, but realizing also I was in my bed and that there was nothing around me and it was dark and that there was no fire. But I went into town to the library. You know, libraries are a great source of research and history. And I went back there and I did some more studying on the schoolhouse. Because as I said earlier, the schoolhouse that I lived in, which had been converted into a 2-bedroom home in the late 1900s, was actually a 1-room schoolhouse from about 1775 era. So this is a very old structure that I lived in. And if you went underneath the house, you could still see the original logs that were used as a foundation. You could see through the floor to underneath the house. They were in certain spots. They did put in an old oil heater, and of course heating for the winter time into it. But it had no air conditioning, and all the ductwork they'd made underneath the home. So if you turn on the light underneath where the oil tank and the heating unit was, and also a hot water tank, you could see right up through the floorboards. And this was all original material. If you went into the home, you could actually look at the floor and see the marks where these desks were laid. You can see where the school teacher's main desk was at the front. And one side, the floor, as I said, was all original. But on one side of it, you can see where there are burn marks all over the floor that are superficial. You know, they don't seem to be too bad. It's almost as if they'd been able to repair it without replacing it, and I'm not sure how. But this is, of course, like I said, a part where fact runs into fiction. And as I searched in the library for more information, I found that at one time one side wall of the school had burned down, and that part of the floor had been burned but never replaced. I found that there had also been a small boy who'd been trapped into the school at that time and couldn't get out. Now, I'm uncertain if that was the boy who'd started the fire, possibly playing with matches, or who knows at that time, a lantern, a light of some source, with no electricity, of course, back then. Who knows what might have happened. But still, It is a spooky thing to be woken in the middle of the night when you live all alone, because this was before I got married. I think before I even met my wife. And I met her there in Pennsylvania, by the way. She's a native of that area, in the Ohio, Pennsylvania area. But I was living in this one-room schoolhouse by myself, and that can be kind of spooky sometimes. But it's just amazing, the dream that I had of this happening, and then going to the library and finding out that, yeah, there was a fire at one time, and there was a boy that was trapped in there. And I sometimes wonder if the ghost of this boy was out there trying to make sure that no one else was hurt by either his actions or just by the fact that there was a fire that occurred. So many strange and weird things happened to me when I lived in that home. After I got married, my wife never liked to live there or be there by herself, I should say. Sometimes my job would take me away for a day or two, and she'd always go running back and stay with her parents because she didn't like to be there at night. As I spoke of my other story about the fog that rolls in, and sometimes being so secluded and not having anyone else around, strange things do occur. I remember one night, as I laid there, I heard creaking in the house. Now, the only time you hear creaking is if someone is walking. As I said, old wooden floors, original wood, and also the beams underneath the home rotting away. The whole house seemed to creak every once in a while. And I remember one night being startled and awoke as I heard a creak and a creak as if footsteps were slowly coming towards the back where my bedroom was. I remember closing my eyes and just thinking, it's just my imagination, just my imagination. There's nobody really there. Nobody's really there. It's just my imagination. And then the creaking stopped. And I slowly opened my eyes and I looked to the doorway. And there, standing in the doorway, I swear, was the shadow or the silhouette of a man with a hat. He looked like he was something from way past, nothing I'd ever seen, something I might have seen in a Civil War reenactment, but nothing that I would see in this day and age. And I swear he was standing there at my door just staring at me while I slept. I remember sitting up straight in bed going, you know how it is when you wake from a dream and you're trying to scream but no sound comes out, but you're breathing. And I looked back at the door and there was nothing but darkness, no one about. I've often wondered if a ghost had really been there, if I had been woken by another ghost. So many strange things. If you've ever gone to Gettysburg, or if you've ever gone to some of the older sites, there'll be people there that swear that they've seen ghosts of dead soldiers, ghosts of people who were innocently killed by accident with fire and with the war that occurred in Gettysburg. We've ghosts everywhere, I tell you, in Pennsylvania. There's great, rich history in that great state. I really enjoyed living there. But those were a few extra stories I just thought of and thought, I'll just go ahead and record them for now. And as it being October, I'll set them out as a few scary stories for those who wish to listen. So I hope you enjoyed them. I hope you liked them. I'll try to think of some more as I think about this being the haunted month for everyone. But I just wanted to tell you about some of these little ghosts that did visit me, or I think visited me. Or maybe I've just got an active imagination and a weird dreamscape, because the strangest have always happened to me when I was in Pennsylvania. And every time I return to visit the in-laws, and I go by some of these old areas, maybe I'm just sensitive to their yearning, their needs. I don't know. Maybe I just see dead people. Anyway, have a good evening. Tschüss, auf Wiedersehen, arrivederci. Until next time with a good story. I hope, anyway. You have a good day, a good evening, good night, a good morning, whatever you're having. Have it and enjoy it. Because there's always another for the next day. Until then, goodbye. Bye.